Oh gosh. Ooh, that's a hard one.
It's been a long, long time. It's gonna be all
My
right.
parents used to take me to these bars, actually, that would be open to allow minors until something like 8, 9 o'clock, and I would play with the house band. That experience really became crucial to me wanting to be on stage. It was easy to get gigs in Illinois, and it was easy to kind of like showcase your talent in kind of a small town. Like, I think more people sort of picked it up and noticed it, and it was a great community. So definitely that small town, like very honest, hardworking blue collar vibe like made me very prolific. So like every day I always have to feel like I'm writing or working on something.
If you think it's true, I gotta talk to you.
First instrument I fell in love with was actually drums. It was an attempt to be my brother, essentially. My brother is my drummer now, and he's actually, I mean, now that I've grown up and seen other drummers, he's one of the best drummers I've ever seen play. When I did my school talent show that I can't sing and play drums, there's no melodic accompaniment, so I said I gotta learn something else, besides he's a better drummer anyways.
It don't matter what we're gonna be.
At every point in my career I expect nothing, and when I get something back from it, it's always a great feeling, and that was really like the first little bit of exposure. Well, I was moving from Arizona. I filmed it on the last day I lived in that house. I had this idea to put it up because it was the anniversary of the Beatles breaking up, and I wanted to do something for the YouTube channel. And it got shown in these classic rock blogs, and people were saying like, it's not half bad. When people liked it, it really made my life. And then, you know, my first album, Adventures in Real Time, came out right after that, so it was just good timing.
It's gonna be alright. It's been a long, long time.
Recording Adventures in Real Time was a magical experience. I started writing songs for literally no reason in particular other than it was just in me and it had to get out when I moved to Arizona from Illinois, and I lived in the middle of nowhere. My next door neighbors were like an ostrich in John Dragonetti's home studio, and in my room in Arizona we emailed tracks back to each other. And that's really how most of the record was made, besides maybe like 1 or 2 drum overdubs in an actual studio. So it was a really DIY magical experience, and listening back to it, I'm still so proud of it. It's different writing for YouTube stars because it's just like writing for other people in general. It's just not mine, and they have their own stories to tell, which is actually a learning experience for me, that I get to see other people's perspective into what they want to put into their songs. I get to be different versions of myself when I write for other people. It's been really fun, and it's definitely kept me on my toes, like as far as writing has gone. It's kept me creative.
And if you look for
Every album I ever make, I'm gonna write as many great songs as I can and then pick the 10, 11 best. So I think for Almost Real there was about like realistically 60 songs. It was nicer gear, nicer recording. I worked with Matt Rad this time as app producer, and when I'm out of my head, that's when I make the best ideas. So I'd work on it at all hours of the night and come up with something at like 2 in the morning and then bring it into Matt the next day, and you just go like, great, and then just gonna delete that. All Roads Lead Back. It's the very last track. It was a timeless song, like on paper. Like when I was in my head, I really felt proud of that. So when that all came together and I hear that song now, it gets me every single time. That's the bar. That's the best song I've ever written. Social media is so close that it feels like you're talking to your friends. For the album cover, we were picking the color out of the sticker, and I sent them, I said, should it be yellow or should it be black? And everyone's like, yellow. You're stupid if you pick black. It's yellow. And I'm like, you know, you're right, it is yellow. They kind of lead the path for me by, you know, showing me what they connect to the most. Like a surprising thing for me was on my first album, there's a ballad called The Actor that's very melancholy and different than the other tracks. And that song's like my most covered song. And I wouldn't have known that if it wasn't for the fan response to that.
They be with you all the time.
It might be the guitar that's on the album cover of Almost Real, which is the Fender Stratocaster. It was my first guitar I ever really loved, and I wrote so many songs on it. And I think if there was a fire, I would take that. Yeah, I don't even take that one on tour. I don't even look at it. I don't even touch it.
I may try to run away.
It's funny, my favorite part besides performing is being in the bus. I love the roughing it, doing it aspect. I love the stories, like I love the tour stories, and being like crammed in a little bus. You know, I work in 3 different modes. It's like writing mode, recording mode, and touring mode. And touring mode me has been dying to be touring mode me for a very long time.
I still do.
I've written a song in a dream, or people have sang songs to me in a dream, and I've tried to wake them up and get it directly to a voice memo. I think almost All Roads Lead Back, a little bit of that came in a dream. One song Paul McCartney sang to me, it's the one section that I was able to remember is too good to waste on a bad song, so it's still sitting in the arsenal.
All roads lead back.
Don't rely on other people's promises. I think that's the most important thing about the major label music industry, is that people will tell you that they'll do one thing, but you're the 100th person on the list, and you can't expect things to happen if you don't do them yourself. When you start to rely on the other sort of non-variable things in the industry, I feel like that's when stuff kind of slows down and your momentum slows down.
Sometimes I pretend I'm someone else 'cause it gets a little.
It's funny because I mean it's so true, but it's the kind of the never give up thing, and then the never stop trying to find yourself, of just digging deeper and deeper. There's a quote from Miles Davis that is, man, it takes a long time to sound like yourself. And I read that when I was like 16, and I kind of got that, but I did not understand the gravity of that until the older I got, and it's so true. You just have to keep doing it. You just have to put your head down and do the hard work, because it gets you somewhere. That's my advice for myself. I tell myself every day, is just put your head down and just do all the work. That's all you can do. I mean, my next Wax Wednesday pick would probably be my favorite album of last year, which is Perfume Genius's No Shape. I think that record is a masterpiece. I don't care how much praise it's got, it's slept on. It's underrated. It's just not praised enough in my book. Anyone that hasn't heard that, yeah, that's definitely inspired me to go make my next record, for sure.
Superstar shade.